TJ with MedFlight. Today we're going to be going over the balloon pump and how to load it into the aircraft, some of the intricacies on how to unhook it from its base plate, as well as some of the lifting mechanics and how to load and secure it into the EC-135. This is for our specific aircraft, and it also is for our specific DATASCOPE balloon pump that our home hospital holds. So there may be some differences between what you're used to or what your program carries, but I think this is pretty applicable across the board for some of the flexibility that you have to have in loading these pieces of equipment. As always, be safe, and let's get right into it. All right, so this is our DATASCOPE that we work with here at MedFlight, and the first thing that I'm going to say is if we can remove any non-essential pieces of equipment from this, we're going to do our best to do so. So these face plates, in just a moment I'm going to remove them, because just underneath that is just a nice smooth face plate. It makes it a little bit easier to load into the aircraft. We're going to be simulating that this is attached to a patient when we're loading, so it's a little bit more realistic. So we're going to take these wires and we're going to shove them inside of our stretcher so that we have an actual patient length that we would be working with. We don't have a helium tube, but that's okay, we'll just simulate it. So after we remove all of that stuff, we have to take this unit and remove it from the actual base plate here. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is, on this part of the balloon pump, there's usually some type of a handle that pulls out. In some balloon pumps there is a little switch underneath, but on this one specifically, you just activate the button here and pull this out, and it unlocks the locking mechanism underneath the balloon pump. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and move up to the laptop, and if we turn this around, there's a button on the back. Again, there's variations in different balloon pumps, but you push the button, and sometimes there's a button underneath in some of the new DATASCOPes, and just go ahead and remove that laptop and secure it in a safe location. And this can be done prior to leaving the hospital, but it's usually easier to transport if this is connected to this all the way up to the helicopter, and you can undo this at the helipad. So again, we're going to just do our best to have good body mechanics. Make sure you lock all of your wheels. You're grabbing where there's approved handles. Every handle place is different. There's going to be handles in different parts of the machine. So important here, I'm kind of bent over talking about lifting mechanics. I don't want to lift with my back bent like this, so I'm in a kind of a bad position. But we're going to be loading underneath the aircraft, so it's important that we learn how to work in this position. So from here, instead of lifting from here, I'm going to try to get my body into a more straight and power position. So from here, I'm going to lift my way backwards and gently sit this down. So now we can unlock our wheels. Get this transport unit out of the way. And then from here, we'll take off this faceplate in just a minute. It's different for every machine, so you know, if yours doesn't do that, that's perfectly fine. We're going to take off this faceplate, and then we're going to go over how to actually load it. One more thing before we move on to that. Every aircraft has a method of securing things to the floor. On our aircraft specifically, they use this small machine that allows you to hook into the floor. I would recommend taking these out when you go to load the patient. So they're usually scattered on the floor and they secure equipment to the ground. Just make sure that you take these off before we load the balloon pump, because they can get caught on things, and you're going to need to adjust where your straps are throughout the process. So make sure you take these off, and we'll get into how to load this in just a second. Alright, so we've simulated loading the patient into the aircraft. We have the wires set as they would normally be if we loaded the patient. Most balloon pumps allow us the ability to load the patient first and then have the balloon pump and deal with getting it into the aircraft. There are some small models that we can just pick up and sit right here and secure, but generally speaking, those aren't out in the market for everybody to enjoy. So today we're going to deal with this big dinosaur. So we've got the wires set up to where they're supposed to be. We've got the laptop kind of stowed underneath here so it's out of the way. And we've taken off that faceplate like we talked about to have minimal equipment. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to load it up in one movement to right here on this edge. And then my partner's going to go around the other side and we'll change frames so you guys can see how we get it inside the rest of the way. Now I'd recommend, if you can steal a blanket from the ER or the ICU that you're coming from, and this will help with kind of cushioning this edge here. You can have your partner sit it there for when you lift up the balloon pump. Now this is just one method of loading it. Obviously there's many methods, but this is so like I said, we're going to take this and put it on the edge whenever we lift it up, but we're going to go over how to lift this up. So let's see if we can give you a hand. Just trying to see. All right, so I've got this set up, and she'll adjust that whenever we get a little higher up. I'm going to grab my good handle spots. Now, when I lift this, I like to get my back nice and straight, and then what I'm going to do is as I come up, I'm going to use this leg to kind of wedge underneath the balloon pump to get into an angled forward position. My helium lines and everything are still on this left side closest to the patient, and I'm going to be leveraging the balloon pump straight up and face in, with an ultimate goal of moving it completely inside and standing it completely up. You guys will see that in just a second. Alright, so we're going to start with lifting it. Good body mechanics. So from here I'll trade. Adjust that. Alright, so from here, your partner can go around the aircraft and start to work on moving it in a little bit more. But in this position, I'm not really working. I'm not holding the balloon pump up with any of my muscles. I'm pretty much just using the frame of my body. So my hips are underneath it, and I'm not supporting any weight with my back or my legs. I'm just leaning into the balloon pump. So this is a good position if you do have to hold it here. Okay, so we've gotten this partially into the aircraft, and it's cushioned by the pad we had underneath, and we're going to work on moving this up and into the aircraft to stand up on its own. All right, so what I like to do here is reach down and give it a little bit of an angle, and you'll have your partner go ahead and grab the handle there for me and extend that handle. So go ahead and lock it all the way out. All right, so from here, we can start to move the balloon pump forward on the wheels. I'm gonna get my little pad out from underneath here. Now, at this point, we have to make sure that we aren't, we have to make sure that we're not getting any of these wires caught. So I have my laptop previously stowed underneath here. I'm gonna get this to where it's not gonna get caught or tangled in any wires, which it already has started to, but that's okay. Hand that up to you. All right, so there's a couple of obstacles I've got to get over here, but what we're going to do is we're going to just communicate and finagle over these obstacles. So go ahead and lift up a little bit and continue forward. Up a little more. Okay, so we're still finagling over some obstacles here. I'm going to continue moving forward. I feel some resistance. I'm just going to gently lift. Go ahead and go up straight for me. All right, nice and slow. And so we've gotten over the major obstacle. So now, go ahead and stand her up nice and easy and lower that handle for me. So we've still got our wires here connected to the patient's groin. And now we're over this track that we can secure the balloon pump to, and it's nice and in a standing upright position. So from here, we'll talk about how to secure it onto the floor with those pins we talked about a moment ago. Okay, so we're going to take a pause from this scenario. I'm obviously not going to sit on my patient's head like this whenever I'm securing the balloon pump, but I just want to talk about securing this DATASCOPE to the machine here. This is great to have in your lap whenever you're flying and you're working on things, making changes. Hopefully you don't have to make changes, but if you do, it is what it is. You want to have this in your lap. Now, when you're not holding this, you want to make sure it's secure in case there was an in-flight emergency, or you guys hit a bird, or you had to make a quick flight turn change or something like that. So this should, in one way or another, whatever model you have, there should be a way of, if it comes off of the main unit, it should connect to the transport unit. So it varies, but with this model, it sits here, and we line up these pins here with the grooves on the edge here, so if you can see those. Now the button that we used previously controls the pins underneath there. So what we're going to do is we're going to line all this up. We're going to push our pins in, and she should be secure on there. Important to secure your equipment and make sure it's nice and strong. Okay, so now we're going to talk about securing the balloon pump. Like I said, these are the pins that we use, and this is the securing rack that we use. So a few things. Number one, your partner, you want to make sure that this is as far forward as you can comfortably take it so that you'll be able to maneuver it, and so that we can get these pins on the other side as well. So just communicate with your partner and make sure that you have enough room to put the securing pins down there. Another thing to note, when we put these securing pins in, we don't want them to be far out here. And the reason being is if I put this strap on here, I don't want there to be an angle pulling down on this that makes the balloon pump want to lean forward as I apply pressure to it. What I want to do is get this as close to the balloon pump as I can, so that strap can be vertical, so that we're putting pressure straight down. So I'm going to use, these are the straps that we use, and I'm going to get them as close to this balloon pump as I possibly can to make sure it's nice and secure. So let's go to the other side and do that side as well. Okay, so just like we did the front, we're going to do the back. I've already secured this one over here, and I've got my strap attached to it, but same mechanism. I'm going to make a little bit of space, get as close to the balloon pump as I can, and then get that nice and squared off. Everything's nice and tight. So this first strap that we do, we're just going to go up and over. Okay, so we fed over the strap over the top here. Again, watching our cords the whole time. But we fed our strap over here, and we're going to take it here. I'm going to connect it and tighten this one down. Okay. So for the second strap, we've got to use our laptop here, right? So depending on the model, you can do what we're about to do here, or you can kind of finagle the best way you can. You know, you may have to make a strap that comes across here, or a strap that comes over the top without a laptop and hold the laptop. But I want to stress how important it is to secure your laptop when you're in flight in case of emergencies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the laptop off for a moment, and that's just by pushing that button, same way we did before. And I'm going to grab a hold of my strap here. I'm going to feed this over where the laptop secures and tighten it down here. Now personally, I like to wiggle this a little bit to see if I can get this any tighter. Real important that it doesn't do too much movement. So once I've got that nice and tight, remember our securing pieces are right here. So with that being said, I should be able to, in theory, take this, place it here, and push my little button on the back. And secure my laptop onto the balloon pump like that. Now we're secure here, and my laptop is secure and is not going to go flying in flight. All right, so we completed our 1-minute flight. It was very fast, uneventful. Everything went well, and we've arrived at our destination. So first thing I like to do when I arrive is make sure everything's fine, everything's plugged in, the aircraft is stopped, and there's no more loud noises going on, so I can make sure everything is still working well. So from here, after I do that, I'm going to go ahead and pop this off, undo my seat belts here. I also like to undo these securing mechanisms, because when my partner in just a moment has to get down there, I don't want her to be hurting her knees trying to move this balloon pump. So we got these taken off. I'll pop that laptop off like we talked about, pushing our button back there, and remove this seatbelt. And then I'm going to keep this off because I'm going to be moving it back, and I don't need this to be in my way. So now we're going to move to where we can get this down and out, with the goal being taking this, leaning it forward, rolling it backwards, essentially the exact thing we just did, but in reverse. Okay, so your partner's gotten out. We've got it unsecure from the aircraft, and now we're going to do the opposite of what we just did. I'm going to make sure all my wires are nice and tucked away to where I have plenty of movement. First thing I like to do is grab that laptop, so if you can pass me the laptop, please. I'm going to take this, and stow it right here underneath the stretcher. You want to put things in a method that as they come towards me, they get loose, they don't get tight, so just keep that in mind. She's going to lift up that handle and we're going to lower it forward. We're going to slide it as far back towards me as we can, and then she's going to take it forward. And we're just going to slowly work our way over all of these obstacles. Now, I have that pad again, and what I'm going to do is sit it on the ground with the goal of rolling this onto the pad and then using my pad to kind of cushion the balloon pump. We want to take care of the equipment that our pals at the hospital or our own equipment so it doesn't get hurt. So I'm going to just gently lift this, and at this angle it's not terribly heavy. I'm just kind of using frames and angles to get over these obstacles. Just make sure you're very careful with your fingers. Go ahead and lift up a little bit for me. Keep coming. Still finagling. Setting up my pad here. Alright, and then close that handle down for me. Alright, so we're going to pause and change angles and get you guys a view of how we take it out on this side. We're out here, we're just going to, with good body mechanics, lean it out, take it down, and hopefully roll away with no issues. So, as I bring this out, I just slide it. Again, I'm going to use my hip and my frames instead of my muscles, because muscles are weak. You want to continue to lean this into your body. Now I'm going to have my partner come over here, just give me a little bit of lifting assistance. As it slides down, I'm making sure my cords aren't tangled. I slowly let this come down my leg, using those frames. Slowly lowering the good mechanics to the ground. Alright, now, I've still got tons of space with my cords here. So, I want to make sure that we allow those to have their plenty of room for the stretcher to come in and out. From here, take my time, secure this. And theoretically, my stretcher should be able to come right out with this stuff here. So we went over how to prepare the balloon pump for loading, such as taking off some things that we might not need, if that's a possibility with your model. We talked about good lifting mechanics and utilizing your partner to lift the machine and get it halfway into the aircraft. Having your partner come around the side, slowly maneuvering over obstacles as needed. There's a lot of things on the floor that we have to get over. And then from there, once we get it all the way in, properly securing it to the floor and putting it into a position that we can use the equipment as it was designed to, standing straight up and being able to push the buttons on the laptop. We talked about the importance of securing the laptop because we don't want that to go flying if we get into an emergency, as well as properly securing the actual balloon pump. And then we did the whole thing in reverse. Now, every time you do this, there's going to be small variances in how well it goes. When we did this before the video, it went incredibly more smooth than when we were just filming it. And I think filming it went pretty smooth. But just know that you're going to have to constantly adjust your cords. You're going to have to constantly adjust certain angles that you're at. And you're going to have to do it slow and controlled. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast is a great mantra to think about as we slowly move the balloon pump in and out efficiently and effectively without anything coming off or coming undone. Thanks for watching, and I hope this was helpful.